should have known something was off when I saw the job listing. It was posted on one of those sketchy online job boards, you know the type, where desperate people go to find work when they're really scraping the bottom of the barrel. But I was one of those desperate people, so I clicked on it anyway. Night shift security guard needed, $25 per hour. The pay was way too good to be true for a basic security gig. But hey, I wasn't about to look a gift horse in the mouth. I'd just graduated high school a few months ago and was still living in my parents' basement. They were starting to drop not-so-subtle hints that it was time for me to get a job and move out. So, I fired off a quick application without thinking twice. To my surprise, I got a response within an hour, asking me to come in for an interview that very night. It was already after 8 p.m., which seemed weird, but I figured maybe that was just how things worked for night shift jobs. I threw on some halfway decent clothes and drove across town to the address they'd given me. The building was in a rundown industrial area on the outskirts of the city. Most of the surrounding warehouses looked abandoned, their windows dark and broken. But this place had lights on inside, so at least that was something. I parked my beat-up Honda Civic and walked up to the plain metal door. There was no company name or anything, just a handwritten sign taped to the door that said, "Interviews, knock and enter." I knocked hesitantly and pushed the door open. The fluorescent lights inside flickered, casting weird shadows across the dingy linoleum floor. A bored-looking middle-aged woman sat behind a desk, not even glancing up as I approached. Hi, I said awkwardly. I'm here about the night security job? She wordlessly slid a clipboard across the desk. I picked it up and saw it was some kind of contract or agreement. At the top it said, "Rules and regulations. Read carefully and initial each line." I skimmed through it quickly. 1. You must remain at designated post for entire 8-hour shift. No breaks. 2. Do not interact with or acknowledge any individuals encountered during shift. 3. If you hear knocking, do not open any doors under any circumstances. 4. Keep all lights off in your area. Use provided flashlight only when absolutely necessary. 5. Do not look out any windows between 1 a.m. and 4 a.m. 6. If you hear singing, immediately put on provided noise-canceling headphones. 7. Check in via radio every 30 minutes. If you miss 2 check-ins, you will be terminated. 8. At 5:55 a.m. exit building immediately. Do not remain on premises after 6 a.m. I looked up at the woman, confused. Is this for real? What kind of place is this exactly? She finally met my eyes, her gaze cold and dead. Do you want the job or not? Initial each line and sign at the bottom if you agree to the terms. I hesitated. Everything about this screamed bad idea. But then I thought about having to go home and tell my parents I'd chickened out of yet another opportunity. With a sigh, I scrawled my initials next to each rule and signed at the bottom. The woman took the clipboard back and handed me a set of keys, a flashlight, and a radio. You start tonight. Be here at 10 p.m. sharp. Don't be late. And just like that, I had the job. As I walked back to my car, a chill ran down my spine despite the warm summer night. What the hell had I just gotten myself into? I spent the next few hours trying to distract myself with video games, but I couldn't shake the nervous feeling in the pit of my stomach. At 9:30, I reluctantly got ready and drove back to the warehouse. The parking lot was empty when I arrived. No sign of anyone coming to relieve the previous guard or give me any kind of orientation. I let myself in with the key I'd been given. The interior was pitch black, except for a single desk lamp illuminating a small security station near the entrance. There was an ancient-looking computer monitor, a logbook, and a pair of noise-canceling headphones. A note taped to the desk read, "Start your shift, remember the rules." With nothing else to do, I settled into the creaky office chair and tried to get comfortable. The first hour or so was uneventful. I did my check-ins via radio every 30 minutes as instructed, but never got any response, just static. The silence was starting to get to me. I wished I'd thought to bring some music or podcast to listen to. Around midnight, I heard footsteps echoing from somewhere deep in the warehouse. My heart started racing. I was about to call out when I remembered rule number 2, do not interact with anyone. So, I kept my mouth shut and strained my ears, trying to figure out where the sound was coming from. The footsteps got closer and closer. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw a shadowy figure walk past the security desk. It looked vaguely human-shaped, but something about its movements was off, jerky, and unnatural. I kept my eyes glued to the desk, my hands shaking as I pretended to write in the logbook. The figure paused right next to me. I could hear raspy breathing, feel eyes boring into me. Every instinct screamed at me to look up, to acknowledge its presence. But I remembered the rules. After what felt like an eternity, the footsteps resumed and faded away into the darkness. I let out a shaky breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. What the actual fuck was that? I wanted nothing more than to bolt out of there and never come back. But I needed this job, and I'd signed that contract. So, I stayed put, trying to convince myself I'd imagined the whole thing. The next few hours passed in tense silence. I jumped at every little creak and groan of the old building settling. My check-ins became a lifeline, the only thing grounding me in reality. As long as I could key that radio every 30 minutes, I told myself, I was still okay. At 1 a.m., I remembered rule number 5, no looking out windows for the next 3 hours. There weren't any windows visible from the security desk anyway, but I found myself fighting the urge to get up and find one. What could possibly be out there that I wasn't supposed to see? Just after 2 a.m., I heard it, singing. Soft and melodic at first, coming from somewhere outside. I scrambled to put on the noise-canceling headphones, but in the split second before I got them on, the singing changed. It wasn't beautiful anymore. It was a cacophony of agonized wailing and screaming. I clapped the headphones over my ears, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might burst out of my chest. Even through the headphones, I could faintly hear it. Dozens, maybe hundreds of voices crying out in torment, begging for help. I squeezed my eyes shut and cranked up the white noise on the headphones as loud as it would go. Tears streamed down my face as I rocked back and forth in the chair, willing the noise to stop. I don't know how long it lasted. Could have been minutes or hours. When I finally got up the courage to take off the headphones, the warehouse was silent once again. I did my check-in with a quavering voice, fully expecting to be met with more screaming. But there was only static. The rest of the night passed in a haze of terror and exhaustion. Every shadow seemed to move. Every sound made me flinch. More than once I thought I saw faces peering at me from the darkness, but they always vanished when I looked directly at them. I was starting to question my own sanity. Finally, blessedly, my watch showed 5:50 a.m. Only 5 more minutes until I could get the hell out of here. I started gathering my things, ready to sprint for the exit the second the clock struck 5:55. That's when I heard the knocking. It was coming from the main entrance, loud and insistent. I froze, remembering rule number 3. Do not open any doors. The knocking grew more frantic, and then I heard a voice. Hello? Please, is anyone in there? I need help. My car broke down and my phone is dead. Please, just let me use your phone to call for a tow truck. It sounded like a young woman, scared and desperate. Every fiber of my being wanted to go help her. Isn't that what a security guard was supposed to do? But the rules, breaking the rules meant being fired, and somehow I knew that terminated didn't just mean losing the job. I can hear you in there, the voice called out, angry now. Why won't you help me? What's wrong with you? The knocking turned to pounding. I could hear the door rattling in its frame. My hands shook as I stared at my watch. 5:54 a.m., just 1 more minute. Suddenly the pounding stopped. There was a moment of eerie silence, then a new sound, the screech of metal grinding against metal. To my horror, I saw the door beginning to buckle inward, as if something incredibly strong was trying to force its way inside. My watch beeped. 5:55 a.m. I ran. I sprinted through the maze of dark hallways, not caring about noise anymore. Behind me, I heard an inhuman roar and the sound of the door finally giving way. Something was inside now, and it was coming for me. I burst out of the fire exit and ran to my car. As I fumbled with my keys, I glanced back at the warehouse. What I saw in the pre-dawn light will haunt me for the rest of my life. The door I'd just come through was hanging off its hinges, and emerging from it was something. In the split second I saw it, my mind couldn't even begin to process what I was looking at. It was like someone had taken a dozen different animals and people and smashed them together into one horrific, writhing mass. And it was looking right at me with far too many eyes. I peeled out of the parking lot, tires squealing. In my rearview mirror, I saw other things pouring out of the warehouse now. The horrors that had been trapped inside all night, finally free in the light of day. I drove until my gas tank was almost empty, my hands shaking so bad I could barely grip the steering wheel. When I finally felt safe enough to stop, I broke down sobbing in a gas station parking lot as the sun rose. I knew I could never go back there. But as the initial terror faded, questions started gnawing at me. What was that place really? What happened to the other poor souls who'd taken that job and hadn't been so lucky? And most troubling of all, now that I'd seen behind the curtain, would those things come looking for me? One thing was for sure. I was never answering a sketchy job posting again. Some money just isn't worth it. If I survive long enough to need another job, that is. Because as I sit here writing this, I swear I can hear singing in the distance. And it's getting closer. Because as I sit here writing this, I swear I can hear singing in the distance. And it's getting closer. It's been 3 days since that night at the warehouse. 3 days of jumping at every shadow, of barely sleeping, of constantly looking over my shoulder. I haven't told anyone what happened. Who would believe me? Hell, I'm not even sure I believe myself. Maybe it was all just some stress-induced hallucination. Maybe I'm going crazy. But deep down, I know it was real. The terror I felt that night was too visceral, too raw to be imaginary. And there are other signs. Yesterday, I was at the grocery store trying to act normal, buying some frozen pizzas and energy drinks, pretty much all I've been able to stomach lately. As I was checking out, I glanced at the bored-looking cashier and felt my blood run cold. It was her, the woman from the warehouse who'd given me the job. But when I looked again, it was just some pimply teenage kid giving me a weird look. "You okay, man?" he asked. "You look like you've seen a ghost." If only he knew how close to the truth he was. I mumbled something and got out of there as fast as I could. But as I was speed walking to my car, I could have sworn I heard that singing again, just on the edge of hearing. I slammed the car door and cranked up the radio, trying to drown it out. Last night was even worse. I've been staying at a cheap motel, too scared to go home in case those things came looking for me there. I was lying in bed, staring at the water-stained ceiling, when I heard a knock at the door. My heart nearly stopped. It was well past midnight. Who would be knocking at this hour? Then a horribly familiar voice called out, "Hello? Please, I need help. My car broke down and my phone is dead. Can I just use your phone to call for a tow truck?" It was the same voice from that last night at the warehouse. The one that had tried to trick me into opening the door. I lay there paralyzed, barely breathing, as the knocking grew more insistent. "I know you're in there," the voice growled, dropping any pretense of being human. "You can't hide from us forever. You signed the contract. You belong to us now." The door began to rattle in its frame, just like at the warehouse. I squeezed my eyes shut and started reciting the rules under my breath like a prayer. Don't open the door. Don't acknowledge them. Don't look out the windows. I don't know how long it went on, but eventually the noises stopped. When I finally got up the courage to peek out the window, the parking lot was empty. No sign that anything had been there at all. I checked out of the motel at first light and started driving. I don't know where I'm going. All I know is I can't stay in one place for too long. They'll find me if I do. As I drive, I keep thinking back to that list of rules, trying to make sense of it all. Why those specific instructions? What would have happened if I'd broken them? Part of me wishes I'd looked out the window during those forbidden hours, just to know what was out there. But a bigger part of me is terrified that I might still find out. I've started noticing things as I travel, little details that most people would overlook, but that stand out to me now like neon signs. Every town I pass through, no matter how small, seems to have at least one building that doesn't quite fit. A warehouse with blacked-out windows. An office building with no company name. Always in the industrial areas. Always a little too quiet. A little too still. How many of these places are there? How many poor souls are trapped inside right now, following those insane rules, trying to survive until morning? And what happens to the ones who don't make it? I've thought about going to the police, but what would I even say? "Officer, I took a job as a night watchman at a warehouse full of monsters." Yeah, that'll go over well. Best case scenario, they think I'm on drugs. Worst case, what if they're in on it somehow? No, I can't trust anyone. The lack of sleep is really starting to get to me. I see things moving in my peripheral vision, but when I turn to look, there's nothing there. Sometimes when I'm pumping gas or grabbing food at a drive-thru, I could swear the people working there have too many teeth, or eyes that are just a little too big. But I blink and they look normal again. Am I losing my mind? Or are the things from the warehouse everywhere, hiding in plain sight, just waiting for their chance to drag me back? I've started keeping a journal of everything that's happened. Partly to try and make sense of it all. Partly so there's some record if I don't make it. I've written down the rules, every detail I can remember about that night, and everything weird that's happened since. Maybe if someone finds this, they'll be able to blow the lid off whatever the hell is going on. Or maybe they'll just think it's the ramblings of a lunatic. I'm not even sure which one I'm hoping for at this point. It's getting dark now. I've been driving all day, and I'm running on fumes, both the car and me. I need to stop soon. But the thought of trying to sleep in some random motel again makes my skin crawl. What if they find me? What if I wake up to that knocking, that voice? I'm pulled out of my spiraling thoughts by a flash of neon up ahead. It's a 24-hour diner, one of those retro-style places that looks like it hasn't changed since the 1950s. My stomach growls, reminding me that I've been surviving on gas station snacks and caffeine for days. I pull into the nearly empty parking lot, killing the engine. As I sit there trying to work up the courage to go inside, I notice a "Help Wanted" sign in the window. For a crazy moment, I consider asking about the job. At least here I could be around people, in the light. Maybe I'd be safer. But then I remember the warehouse. How normal it had seemed at first. How quickly things had gone to hell. Number no more jobs. I can't risk it. I'm about to start the car again and keep driving when I see someone step out of the diner. It's a middle-aged man in a rumpled suit, looking exhausted. Probably a long-haul trucker stopping for some coffee. But as he walks to his car, I notice something that makes my blood run cold. He's walking with that same jerky, unnatural gait I saw that night in the warehouse. Before I can react, he turns and looks directly at me. Our eyes meet. And in that instant, I know. He's one of them. And he recognizes me. A slow, impossibly wide grin spreads across his face, revealing row after row of needle-sharp teeth. Then he starts walking towards my car. I fumble with my keys, my hands shaking so bad I can barely get them in the ignition. The thing that looks like a man is getting closer, moving faster now. I finally get the car started and peel out of the parking lot, tires squealing. In my rearview mirror, I see the man-thing standing in the middle of the road, still grinning that horrible grin. And then, just for a second, its form seems to ripple and change. In its place is that writhing, monstrous mass I saw at the warehouse. Dozens of mismatched eyes blink at me as I speed away. I drive through the night, fueled by terror and gas station coffee. I don't know where I'm going. All I know is I can't stop, can't slow down, can't let them catch me. but a treacherous voice in the back of my mind whispers that it's only a matter of time. I signed the contract. I saw what I wasn't supposed to see. And now, no matter how far I run, no matter where I hide, they'll find me eventually. As the sun begins to rise, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold, I find myself thinking about that last rule from the warehouse. Do not remain on premises after 6 a.m. Was that for my protection or theirs? I pull over at a scenic overlook, the kind of place tourists stop to take pictures. But I'm not here for the view. I'm here because I've made a decision. I can't keep running forever. Sooner or later, they'll catch up to me. And I'd rather face whatever's coming on my own terms. So I sit on the hood of my car, watching the sun climb higher in the sky, waiting. For what? I'm not sure. But I can feel something building in the air around me. A tension, like the moment before a thunderstorm breaks. As the minute hand on my watch ticks closer to 6 a.m., I start to hear it. That damn singing. It's coming from everywhere and nowhere at once. Beautiful and terrible and impossible to ignore. I close my eyes, take a deep breath, and wait for 6 a.m. to arrive. I don't know what will happen when it does. Maybe I'll be torn apart by unseen forces. Maybe I'll be dragged back to that warehouse to take my place among the other poor souls trapped there. Or maybe, just maybe, I'll finally wake up from this nightmare. Whatever comes, at least it'll be over. No more running, no more hiding. The singing grows louder. I can feel something massive shifting in the world around me. This is it. The moment of truth. I open my eyes, and I see nothing. The world around me looks exactly the same as it did a moment ago. The sun continues its lazy ascent into the sky, painting the clouds with streaks of gold and pink. Birds chirp in the nearby trees. A gentle breeze rustles the leaves. For a second, I feel a flicker of hope. Maybe it really was all in my head. Maybe I'm finally free. But then I noticed something. The singing has stopped, yes. But so has everything else. The birds have gone silent. The breeze has died away. It's as if the whole world is holding its breath, waiting for something. I slide off the hood of my car, my legs shaky beneath me. That's when I see it. At first, it's just a shimmer in the air, like heat rising off hot asphalt. But as I watch, it starts to take shape. A door. A simple, ordinary-looking door, standing right there in the middle of the overlook. There's nothing around it. No walls, no building. Just a door, floating in space. I know I shouldn't approach it. Every instinct is screaming at me to run, to get in my car and drive as far and as fast as I can. But I'm tired of running, and some part of me knows that no matter how far I go, this moment was always going to catch up with me. As I take a step towards the door, I hear a voice. Not the monstrous, inhuman voices from before. This one sound, kind, familiar somehow. You did well, it says, seeming to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. Not many make it this far. Who are you? I ask, my voice hoarse from disuse. What do you want from me? A chuckle, warm and rich. We are the Watchers, and as for what we want, well, that's up to you now, isn't it? The door swings open, revealing not the scenic view behind it, but a swirling vortex of colors and shapes that hurt my eyes to look at directly. You have a choice to make, the voice continues. You can step through this door and join us, become a Watcher yourself, see the world as it truly is, in all its beauty and horror. Or you can walk away. Go back to your old life. Forget everything that's happened. We'll make sure of it. I laugh, but it comes out sounding more like a sob. That's it? After everything I've been through, all the terror and pain, I just get to choose to forget. The choice is never easy, the voice says, a note of sadness creeping in. But it is yours to make. Those who choose to forget, well, let's just say they often find themselves drawn back to places like that warehouse, searching for something they can't quite remember. I think about my life before all this. It seems so small now, so insignificant. But it was safe. Normal. Do I really want to give that up? Then I think about the warehouse. About the things I saw there. The horrors lurking just beneath the surface of our world. If I walk away now, who will be the next poor soul to take that job? Who else might suffer because I chose to forget? If I go with you, I say slowly, will I be able to help people? To protect them from what's out there? A warm smile in the voice now. That's what being a watcher is all about, my dear. We guard the boundaries between worlds. We guide those who are ready to see. And sometimes, yes, we post job listings for night watchmen. I take a deep breath and square my shoulders. I know what I have to do. Okay, I say. I'm ready. As I step towards the door, I feel a sense of peace wash over me. For the first time since that night at the warehouse, I'm not afraid. Whatever lies beyond that door, whatever challenges I'll face as a watcher, I know that I'm making the right choice. I take one last look at the world I'm leaving behind. The sun has fully risen now, bathing everything in warm golden light. It's beautiful, in its own simple way. But I know now that it's just a tiny fraction of what's really out there. With a smile, I step through the door. The world dissolves around me in a kaleidoscope of impossible colors. I feel myself stretching, changing, becoming something more than human. Knowledge floods my mind, the true history of our world, the myriad dimensions that intersect with our own, the delicate balance we watchers maintain. I see the warehouse now, not as a place of terror, but as a testing ground, a place where those with the potential to see beyond the veil are pushed to their limits. Some break, some run, and a very few, like me, rise to the challenge. As my transformation completes, I find myself back in that familiar security office. But now I see it for what it really is. A gateway, a liminal space between worlds. The rules I memorized so desperately take on new meaning, each one a safeguard against the chaotic energies that swirl just out of sight. I settle into the chair, smiling to myself as I hear footsteps approaching. Another candidate, another potential watcher, coming for their job interview. I straighten the stack of contracts on the desk, marveling at how ordinary they look. How could I have ever thought this was just about money? As the door opens, I look up, my face a mask of bored indifference. Here for the night watchman job? I ask, sliding the contract across the desk. Read carefully and initial each line. As the nervous young man begins to read, I lean back in my chair, ready to begin my first shift as a true watcher. The night ahead will be long and full of terrors. But now, finally, I understand my place in it all. The wheel turns, the cycle continues, and somewhere out there, in the darkness between worlds, I swear I can hear singing.